She wasn't supposed to be out that late. 14-year-old Emily Patterson had just one job that Thursday evening: take Max, the family's golden retriever, for his usual walk around the block before sunset. The sleepy town of Ridgefield, Washington, wasn't known for crime. The sidewalks were clean, the neighbors polite, and you could hear birdsong even past dinner time. Nothing bad ever happened here. Until that night. Before we dive into this mysterious case, tell us, where are you watching from? We love seeing how far our stories travel. Drop your city or country in the comments, and let's see how far this one goes. Now, back to Emily. She left the house at 6:47 p.m. Her mom remembered the time because Emily had been arguing with her about wearing just a hoodie when the temperature was already dropping. "I'll be back in 20 minutes, she said. She never came back. The sun dipped behind the trees. The street lights blinked on. The Patterson family's porch light stayed on well into the night. By 8:15 p.m., panic had already set in. Her phone was going straight to voicemail. Max's leash was gone from the hook, but both Emily and the dog had vanished without a trace. The police were called at 8:42 p.m. The first search team arrived by 9:30. Flashlights scanned the woods behind the subdivision. Drones hovered over the treetops. Dogs picked up scents that led nowhere. No torn clothes. No footprints. No drop phone. Just nothing. It was as if the earth had swallowed her whole. Detective Alana Reyes, who led the investigation, described it as one of the most frustrating disappearances she'd ever seen. It's like chasing a shadow. There was no sign of a struggle. No witnesses. Just one moment a girl and her dog were walking, and the next they were gone. The case caught the attention of local media within 48 hours. By day 3, news vans lined the street. Missing girl leaves town shaken. The headlines read. But as the days turned into weeks and then months, the attention faded. Like the last page of a story no one finished reading. The Pattersons didn't stop searching. Emily's father, Doug, quit his job. He printed over 3,000 flyers and personally posted them in 4 different counties. Her mother, Janice, barely spoke to anyone unless they had a tip or a theory. They turned the garage into a sort of command center, walls covered in maps, notes, red pins connecting dots that led nowhere. Still, nothing. Then came the first real break, exactly 11 months later. It was the beginning of hunting season, and a man named Roy Hawk. Delaney was out in the dense brush about 10 miles from Ridgefield. Roy was no stranger to the woods. He'd served 2 tours in Afghanistan as a scout, and was known locally as a sharp-eyed tracker. This season, however, Roy had brought along something new, a military-grade thermal drone. That morning, just past 5 a.m., Roy was scanning the tree line with his drone, hoping to catch early movement from deer. Instead, he saw a shape, warm, bright orange against the cool purple of the forest floor. It wasn't moving much. At first, he thought it was a coyote. Then he zoomed in, a golden retriever, lying down, still alive, and tethered to a tree with what looked like a long rope. Roy didn't hesitate. He marked the coordinates and hiked down into the brush, expecting the worst. But what he found stopped him cold. The dog, Max, was filthy, skinny but unmistakably alive. Matted fur, raw pads, but still breathing. His collar still had a tag. Max, Patterson family, 360 XXX XXXX. There was no sign of Emily. Roy called the sheriff immediately. Within hours, rescue teams were swarming the area. Max was rushed to a nearby animal hospital. He hadn't eaten in days, but he hadn't been alone. Not entirely. Around the base of the tree were signs of human presence. A rusted tin cup, worn-out cloth, a shallow hole covered with leaves, almost like a makeshift storage pit, but no recent footprints. No Emily. They searched for days. By now, national news had picked up the story again. Missing girl's dog found alive after a year blared the headlines. Reporters flooded Ridgefield. Podcasters launched theories. Everything from human trafficking to wilderness survival. One thing was clear. Emily had been alive long after her disappearance. Forensics revealed human DNA on the tin cup. It matched Emily. She'd been there. But where was she now? The case reopened with full force. The FBI got involved. Satellite data was pulled. Cadaver dogs combed every inch of that forest. Yet no body was ever found. What happened in that year? Emily disappeared. Who tied the dog up? Why leave him behind? And how had no one spotted them? Just 10 miles from home. The moment Max was found, something in Emily's father broke wide open. Doug hadn't slept in months. He'd combed every ravine, every trailhead, every stranger's backyard he could legally, and sometimes illegally, search. But now the dog was back. Still alive, still wearing her scent, and tethered, not lost. It changed everything. The forest where Max was discovered became the epicenter of a full-blown investigation. The FBI set up mobile command units. 9 teams swept a 10-mile radius. Helicopters scanned from above. Searchers trudged through mud, thorn, and creek beds with renewed urgency. And the story, Emily's story, spread like wildfire. News anchors in Canada, Australia, and the UK aired the footage. A thermal image of Max glowing orange against the dark blue of the wilderness became a symbol of hope, of mystery, of something unfinished. Back at the Patterson home, Janice held Max every night. He whimpered when the door creaked or a certain sound played on TV, especially the jingling of keys. Trauma, they said, but Janice was convinced it meant more. He's trying to tell us something, she insisted. Theories exploded online. Some believed Emily had been abducted by someone who'd eventually let her go, or worse. Others said she ran away and lived off-grid until something went wrong. A few even claimed she might still be hiding, choosing not to return for reasons no one could understand. But one detail turned the investigation in an entirely new direction. A woman named Carla Donahue came forward. She lived in the area where Max was found and told authorities something strange had happened 5 months prior. She'd been hiking with her son when they noticed movement in the woods. It was a girl, she said, thin, barefoot, maybe 14 or 15. She darted between the trees before I could even call out. My son thought she looked scared, like she was being watched. At the time, Carla thought it might have been a local teen acting out. She didn't report it. Now, she regretted it deeply. Her testimony triggered a flood of similar accounts. A delivery driver remembered spotting a flicker of pink behind the tree near dusk. A fisherman recalled hearing singing, soft, almost like a lullaby, in a secluded cove. Each story added weight to the theory that Emily had survived in that forest far longer than anyone believed. But how? And why wouldn't she come out? The next clue was found by a local tracker named Lenny Parks. He'd volunteered for the search and took his own dog into a ravine half a mile from where Max had been tied. At the base of a rock ledge, hidden beneath a thicket of vines, he found something, a small hand-carved wooden figurine. It was a dog, rough but deliberate, just like Max. Next to it, tucked between 2 stones, was a child's sock, weathered and stained, but unmistakably from the same set Emily had been wearing the day she vanished. For the Pattersons, this wasn't a search for closure anymore. It was a rescue. 2 weeks after Max was recovered, Doug returned to the forest himself. Authorities had started limiting access, but he pulled every favor he had. Armed with satellite phone and the dog's blanket, he ventured into the woods near the old fire trail, where Carla claimed she saw someone. He moved slowly. No cameras, no yelling, just patience. On the 3rd day, he found it, a lean-to shelter, low, made from branches and moss. Inside a blanket, bits of plastic, a torn hoodie. It was Emily's. And then a voice, not from behind or above, from underneath. Please go away. It was barely a whisper. Hoarse, dry. But Doug would know his daughter's voice anywhere. He dropped to his knees. Emily? Baby, it's me. It's Dad. You're safe now. The leaves rustled behind a fallen log. A face peeked out, dirty, thin, pale, but unmistakable. Emily. The reunion wasn't immediate. She didn't leap into his arms or collapse crying. She stayed hidden, eyes darting like a wild deer. Doug sat on the forest floor for hours, talking gently, telling her about Max, about Mom, about home. Eventually, she emerged. barefoot, scraped, wearing clothes too small. Her wrists were thin, her eyes sunken, but she was alive. Doug called in the coordinates. Medics arrived within the hour. But even then, Emily resisted. She screamed when touched, flinched at flashlights. And it wasn't until Max, gently coaxed into the woods, came bounding toward her that she finally dropped her guard. She collapsed into the dog's fur, sobbing. At the hospital, doctors said she was severely malnourished, dehydrated, but no major infections, no broken bones. She hadn't been physically abused, but her mental trauma was vast. And still, she wouldn't talk. Not about the forest, not about what happened, not even to her mother, until 3 days later, when a child psychologist gave her a notebook. Emily wrote 3 words. He watched me. What followed was pieced together over months of therapy and interviews. Emily hadn't been alone those first few weeks. She said a man had approached her on the walking trail, calm, smiling, saying Max looked like his old dog. She didn't think he was dangerous until he grabbed her arm. He dragged her into the woods. No van, no weapon, just brute strength and knowledge of terrain. For weeks, he kept her in a shack, never hurt her, but watched her every moment, spoke little, left food, took it away. He called her girl. Then one night, while he was out hunting, Emily escaped. But instead of running to the roads, she fled deeper into the woods. She didn't want him to find her again, so she hid. And for nearly 10 months, she lived like that, eating berries, drinking creek water, always watching shadows. She tied Max to a tree when he grew too weak, hoping someone would find him. She didn't think she'd be found, but she was. The man, still unidentified, was never caught. The shack was burned. The woods, for Emily, became both cage and refuge. Her story is still unfolding. Therapy continues. Recovery is slow. But in her last journal entry shared publicly, Emily wrote, "I thought no one would find me. I thought the world forgot. But the forest gave me back." If you want more stories like this, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon. Drop a comment below. Where are you watching from? We love seeing how far these stories travel. And remember, you never know what's hidden in the quietest corners of the world.